Rich woman mocks poor single mom at a grocery store. But what happens next will surprise you. You'll find out everything in the full story, so stay tuned. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. We love sharing the best stories with our amazing viewers all around the world. It was a chilly Saturday morning, and the grocery store was bustling with customers. Among them was a woman named Sarah, a single mom in her early 30s. She wasn't dressed in anything extravagant, just a simple sweater paired with jeans. Her hair was tied back in a messy bun, and she looked exhausted, as if she hadn't had a decent night's sleep in weeks. But despite that, Sarah had a warm smile on her face as she pushed her cart down the aisles, her young daughter Lily sitting in the cart seat, happily munching on a snack. Carefully, Sarah picked out items, checked prices, and ensured she stayed within her budget. She wasn't wealthy, but she worked tirelessly to provide for her daughter. Every single penny mattered, and she was no stranger to making sacrifices, so Lily could have everything she needed. In the same store, another woman named Victoria was shopping too. However, Victoria was the complete opposite of Sarah. She was in her late 40s, dressed head to toe in designer brands, with a dazzling diamond bracelet on her wrist and a handbag that probably cost more than Sarah's monthly rent. Victoria walked through the store with an air of superiority, her heels clicking loudly against the tiled floor. She wasn't even there to do her own shopping. She had people for that. She had just stopped by to pick up a few specialty items for a dinner party she was hosting that evening. As fate would have it, Sarah and Victoria ended up in the same aisle. Sarah was comparing prices on a box of cereal while Lily giggled, pointing excitedly at the colorful boxes on the shelf. Meanwhile, Victoria impatiently scanned the shelves, searching for a particular brand of imported olive oil. Glancing at Sarah and Lily, Victoria raised a perfectly manicured eyebrow, taking in their appearance. And then, she just couldn't help herself. Letting out a condescending chuckle, she muttered, "You know, if you can't afford the good stuff, maybe you shouldn't be shopping here." Sarah froze for a second, unsure if she had heard correctly. Slowly, she turned to face Victoria, who now had a smug smirk on her face, as if she had just said something incredibly clever. Sarah's cheeks burned with embarrassment, but she quickly composed herself. She wasn't the kind to cause a scene, especially not in front of her daughter. "I'm just trying to get what my daughter needs," Sarah responded, her voice calm and steady, even though Victoria's words stung. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Well, maybe if you worked a little harder, you wouldn't have to scrape by like this. Honestly, it's people like you who hold everyone else back." Sarah chose not to respond. Instead, she turned back to the shelf, focusing on her shopping. But Lily, who had been silently observing the exchange, looked up at her mother with wide, innocent eyes and asked, "Mommy, why is that lady being mean?" Sarah's heart ached at her daughter's question. Kneeling to Lily's level, she gently said, "Sweetheart, sometimes people say unkind things, but we don't have to let it bother us, okay?" Victoria overheard and let out another scoff. "Teaching your kid to settle for less, huh? No wonder you're stuck where you are." By now, other shoppers had started to take notice of the interaction. Some looked uncomfortable, while others whispered among themselves, clearly disapproving of Victoria's behavior. But Victoria didn't care. She was used to saying whatever she pleased without consequences. Sarah decided it was best to just walk away. Pushing her cart to the next aisle, she tried to shake off the encounter. But as she continued shopping, a mix of anger and sadness lingered in her chest. She had worked so hard to build a life for her daughter, yet people like Victoria still looked down on her as if she were nothing. Meanwhile, Victoria continued her shopping, completely unfazed by what had just happened. After grabbing the last of her items, she headed toward the checkout line. As she stood there scrolling through her phone, she suddenly noticed a commotion at the store's entrance. A tall, confident man in a suit had just walked in, flanked by a few others who looked like a security detail. He carried himself with importance, and Victoria's curiosity was immediately piqued. She watched as his eyes scanned the store, until they landed on Sarah, who was now in the produce section. To Victoria's shock, the man's face lit up with a smile, and he walked directly toward Sarah. Sarah, he called out warmly. Sarah looked up, surprised.
Oh,
Hi, Mr. Bennett, she said, returning his smile politely. Victoria's jaw nearly dropped. Mr. Bennett? As in James Bennett, the billionaire philanthropist? The CEO of one of the largest companies in the country? What on earth was he doing talking to someone like Sarah? James Bennett extended his hand, shaking Sarah's. It's so good to see you. How have you been? Sarah nodded, still a little surprised. I've been good, thank you. Just keeping up with this little one, she said, gesturing toward Lily, who was now shyly peeking from behind her mother. James chuckled. She's getting so big. You know, we still talk about you at the foundation. You did an incredible job on that project last year. Victoria's mind was spinning. Foundation? Project? What was happening? James continued. Actually, I've been meaning to reach out to you. We have another initiative coming up, and I can't think of anyone better to lead it than you. Of course, it comes with a significant raise and more flexible hours, so you can spend even more time with Lily. Sarah's eyes lit up with gratitude. That means so much to me, Mr. Bennett. I'd love to be a part of it. Victoria suddenly felt like the ground had been ripped out from beneath her. She had assumed Sarah was just some struggling single mom with no future. But now it was clear she was so much more. Not only did she personally know James Bennett, but she had also worked on important projects with him. And now he was offering her an even better opportunity. For the first time in a long time, Victoria felt small. A pang of guilt hit her as she thought back to the cruel words she had said earlier. She had judged Sarah purely by her appearance, without knowing a single thing about her. As James said goodbye and walked away, Victoria hesitated, then approached Sarah. I didn't realize who you were, she stammered, her tone no longer arrogant. Sarah met her gaze, her expression calm but firm. It shouldn't matter who I am. No one deserves to be treated the way you treated me. Victoria opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. She simply nodded, her face red with shame, before quietly walking away. As Sarah finished her shopping and headed toward the checkout, she felt a sense of pride. Not because of her connection to James Bennett, but because she had stayed true to herself. She had shown her daughter that kindness and dignity would always be more valuable than wealth or status. And as for Victoria, she left the store that day with a lot to think about. Maybe, for the first time in her life, she realized that money and designer clothes didn't make her better than anyone else. And just maybe, it was time for a change. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.